The difference between a good wedding filmmaker and a great one doesn't come down to having the best gear or camera. The difference is you. Are you the type of person that a couple wants to have attend their wedding? Hang on till the end of this video because I'm going to review for you 7 ways you can make yourself a better wedding videographer. Hi, I'm Jim Costa. I'm a full-time working photographer, video producer, video editor, and technology pro, but you can call me a dadographer. If you like what you see in this video, stick around to the end because I've got a couple of video, filmmaking, and editing freebies and even training courses I'll tell you about that will definitely help to improve your work and help grow your business through earned media exposure. And remember, I welcome your comments, your questions, and more on all of my videos. Number 1 is communicate with the couple, venue, and vendors. Well before the wedding date, you should have a sit-down meeting with the engaged couple. Get to know what they're looking for in their video. Do they want to make sure you capture certain moments? Will there be any surprises or choreographed dances you need to know about? Will the bride be wearing her great-grandmother's earrings? Being ready to capture these moments will truly make your work stand out. Reach out to the ceremony and reception venues and find out if they have any rules or regulations. Many churches won't allow videographers in certain areas, so it's important to note if you will need to bring a zoom lens, for example. Some large reception venues require a proof of insurance before they let you shoot on the premises. It's your responsibility to have everything in order before showing up. Talk to some of the wedding vendors, mainly the ones you will work with on the wedding day. Knowing the vendors in the industry is your gateway to success. Their recommendations can help you land future weddings. First, get to know the wedding coordinator. Ask for a copy of the schedule and contacts for the other vendors. Then you can ask the DJ about their setup. Will they let you plug into their soundboard to get backup audio? Will they bring a high-end light kit for the reception? See if the photographer is willing to collaborate with you. You can shoot side by side and rotate back and forth for close-ups, for example. Getting acquainted with everyone will help the shoot move along much smoother. This is especially true when working with wedding or site coordinators and photographers, as you'll be working with them the most throughout the day. If there's no coordinator, cozy up to the DJ or band leader as they will control the schedule for the day. The relationship between the wedding videographer and photographer is critically important. A strong, healthy partnership between the two professionals builds a bridge to high-quality photos and videos of the wedding day, increased creativity rather than a tug-of-war between creative minds, a smoother workflow for the bride and groom and the guests, and a more fun-induced environment for everyone involved. As a wedding videographer, you should discuss with the photographer your desire to make sure the wedding day sets sail smoothly while you are both working together. There are times when the photographer's work is most important, such as during the formal portraits, because people have to be smiling and standing up straight and looking into the photographer's camera. But there are times when the videographer's work is most important, such as during the vows, because you can hear it, or during live dancing because, you can hear and things are moving around, the people are dancing. You have to understand that there are times when both professionals should take the lead because their work is more important, because what's happening at the wedding lends itself to the individual mediums differently at different times. I communicate this point with the photographer and assure them that the photographer is in charge of the shoot and that I am secondary to them, but there are times when I need to jump in and get a shot here or a shot there or so forth, and I will always let the photographer know that ahead of time. When my team is shooting a video, I make it clear that if we want to get a certain shot or do something with the couple, We talk to the photographer before we start directing the couple on what to do, because it's really distracting to the couple and to the guests as well, and it's confusing if the videographer starts directing people on doing this and that while the photographer is also directing people to do something else. After working together a time or two, you'll learn one another's style and it'll be a lot easier to get along. Number 2, stay fast while carrying as little gear as possible. The morning of the wedding is a fairly typical operation in terms of what is actually going to happen. The groom and his groomsmen, hang out in one area and get dressed. The bride and her bridesmaids hang out somewhere else to get their hair and makeup done and maybe their nails, and then they have to get dressed. After that, you will be running around until the wedding is over. It's best to set your heavy bag in a corner somewhere of the reception and take it easy on your shoulders and back. Only carry with you what you actually need. Having every lens option at once is not any use to you. A camera and 2 lenses are perfect for running around. Be sure to have extra batteries, of course, and formatted memory cards ready to go. Nothing's worse than having to tell a couple to hold off on tossing the bouquet because your batteries died. I've seen it happen. Thankfully not to me, but I have seen it. Don't be that guy. If necessary, find an outlet and have a charging station for any batteries that you've already used. A good rule of thumb for me is, over the years, I have figured out that I should have double the number of batteries that I actually need. An important note on batteries: as they get older, they tend to work less. So you should be rotating your batteries every maybe 2 years at best. Even if they still work, use them as backups. Don't use the same old batteries over and over and over again, because they're going to quit on you, and probably right at the most inopportune time that you can possibly imagine. So you should factor this in to your equipment buying decisions. A good rule of thumb that I've discovered is figure out the shortest length of time that your battery will work, keeping in mind that you're going to turn your camera on and off a bunch of times possibly, or if you have it set to auto, things like moving the lens might eat up juice or whatever. Figure out how long, the shortest amount of time your batteries, when they're new, are going to work, and let's say it's an hour, and have double the number of batteries you need for that day. So let's say you have an 8-hour day. Just for example, from the time you arrive to the time the reception is over, you want to have double the number of batteries. So if the minimum time your batteries work are 1 hour, and it's an 8-hour day, you need 16 batteries. Now that seems like a lot, and it is a lot of money, but you will never run out of batteries if you do that. If you go cheap and only have maybe 2 or 3 batteries, you're going to be worried by the end of the day that you don't have enough juice to get you to the time they get in the limo and take off. There are no I-dos in weddings. If you don't capture things as they happen, then you didn't do your job. It's best to have multiple audio sources, for example, recording the sound. Does your camera capture quality sound? If not, you need to have external recorders ready to go. Try to avoid putting a mic on the bride because it just doesn't work with her dress. Instead, go for a lavalier microphone on the officiant, if they'll let you, or the groom. He usually will. But remember, sometimes there's other things going on, so maybe you're in a church and there's readings at a podium, so you need to have that mic'd as well. So it's very important to know what's going on and have everything mic'd, not just the bride and groom. You'll hear them fine, but when someone goes over to do a reading, the sound will be terrible. If the DJ is running sound for either the wedding and or the reception, you may be able to plug into this soundboard. That's why it's beneficial to have talked to the DJ beforehand. Keep in mind that every DJ is different, so there's no guarantee that you will get quality sound or they'll allow you to actually plug into their system. That's why you should only rely on them for backup audio. And I'll give you a pro tip on what I do. I have a Zoom recorder that I take to the reception, and I never, ever plug it into the DJ's soundboard. Why? Because DJs love to blast music and fill up a room with sound, which is great for a party, but it's terrible for digital audio. So what I do is I set up my Zoom on like a tripod or a mic stand in front of their speaker. It's right in front of their main output speaker that has the bass and the treble coming out of it, and that way I control the sound. I just check on it every now and again and make sure I'm not over-modulating, and I get a complete sound source because the DJ is going to have people mic'd who are doing toasts. He's going to have music playing. It's all going to come out of the same speaker. So by doing that and I controlling the volume, I never have to worry about it being too over-modulated, or maybe he sends me a line level and I have my Zoom set to mic level or something like that. That's the way that I avoid having to worry about the DJ sound, and knowing that I control it as a backup and I know it's always going to come out good. Number 4, always capture the traditional wedding shots. You may feel the need to experiment on the wedding day because of your style, and that's fine, but be sure to always get the typical wedding shots as well. Experimenting is a great way to help you find your style and develop your skills, but don't forget that couples want to see their vows, their first dance, their cake cutting, and the other traditional things that happen. Make sure you have the most important things covered before you get all your cool transitions and you use your gimbal and you use your drone and all this other stuff. You have to get the main things and then do all that extra stuff on top of that. If this is making sense to you, but I've got it in the comments section below. Number 5, keep your camera stable. Stabilization is necessary. Going handheld is not going to cut it for a wedding. Whether you use a tripod, a monopod, or maybe a glide cam, or a gimbal, or a slider, or a shoulder rig, whatever it is, be sure that you can quickly switch between your support gear. By putting the same quick release plate on all of your gear, you can easily switch on the go from one device to the other. Tripods are great during the ceremony, but can easily get in the way elsewhere. For example, it's hard to move them in between tightly packed tables during the reception. When you're in a tiny hotel room, for example, with the bridal party getting ready, and family members and hairstylists and all these other people, and makeup artists, and everyone else is getting the family ready ahead of time, you won't have much space to work. Being able to quickly switch to a monopod or your gimbal will keep you shooting and not missing anything important. Number 6, be sure to capture enough B-roll. B-roll will be your best friend or could be your worst enemy when editing, depending on how much you get. Not having enough will make your job much harder. It's easy to remember to shoot exteriors of the venue, but don't forget that there are people coming to those venues. When the bride and groom watch their wedding video, they will want to see their friends and family in attendance. It's very important to remember that there are only a few times in a person's life when whole families get together. Weddings, usually, and funerals. They can be the happiest day of your life and the worst day. It's very important to remember to include as many of the other people in the wedding video as you can, not just the main family. You do want to make sure, of course, you get enough footage of the bride and groom, obviously. If you want to make sure that you don't miss anyone critical while you're shooting, remember this: old people, young people, anyone with a flower. Of course you want to get the bride and groom, that's obvious. But anyone with gray hair or a walker, you should always include in the wedding, because those could be grandparents or great-grandparents who traveled a great distance or a great difficulty to get there, and people want to remember their family. That's old people, young people. Anybody who's short enough to maybe go up to your belt line should be included in the wedding, because weddings are about family, and children are the extension of the family, so you always want to include shots of kids. Plus, frankly, they usually do things like maybe stick their finger in the cake, or they run around and play, and they're not embarrassed to be on film or anything like that, like adults. So if you include them, you're capturing an important part of the family and will make your video better. And the last tip I said was flowers. Why flowers? Anyone with a flower, such as a boutonniere for men, or a bouquet for women, is important enough to be either in the wedding party itself or in the immediate family of the bride and groom. They will always have flowers. If you get them and include them in the wedding video, you cannot possibly ever go wrong, because those are the most important people in the bride and groom's life. Along those same lines of what extra footage to get, you should always have an extra camera capture parts of the crowd during the ceremony. This footage will always come in handy to hide any rough edits, and it's also a great way to cut to the crowd if the photographer walks into your shots or blocks the couple at the altar. More importantly, there are certain things in a wedding that you learn after you do enough of them, that happen only once and you absolutely don't want to miss. For example, when the bride is saying her vows, I always zoom in tight on the bride's face because maybe she's crying or she's definitely super emotional. You're never going to get that look back. I always zoom in on the bride's face during the vows because that is a once-in-a-lifetime unmissable shot. But if you have an extra camera running, you can get that same shot of the bride's parents or the groom's parents, for example, or their grandparents, shots of people in the audience while they're saying their vows or exchanging rings or whatever, because people will also be emotional at that time too. And it's a nice addition to the video and really shows that you're a pro and that you care and that you know how to tell a story. Why? Because a wedding video really is a story. It's the story of the bride and groom's wedding, perhaps the most important day of their life, but certainly a day that affects every other day for the rest of their lives. So the more you include, the better story you'll tell, and the better wedding filmmaker you will be. And finally, number 7, prepare for low light situations. Evening receptions can be a nightmare for wedding filmmakers. Indoor or outdoor, it will probably be dark. After dinner is served, venues tend to dim the lights so that the party can begin. Hopefully you and the DJ also talked about his lighting setup because you will still need some of your own lights to help you get certain shots. The DJ might not like the fact that you want to have lights set up on the dance floor, for example. If your camera doesn't handle low light well, keep in mind that guests don't want to be blinded by video lights at night. When you use lights, be sure to use them sparingly. Don't kill the mood by leaving them on during the entire reception. Only use the lights that you need when there's dancing or something going on, but not the entire time. Also, I highly recommend you have a dimmable light on your camera because if you're going around doing interviews or someone's doing a toast, they don't want 100 watts blasting in their face. So you want to dim the light enough so that you can still get a good image on your video, but it doesn't distract from the wedding or upset the person that you're shooting. Another thing to consider is the DJ's lights. One reason to discuss what lighting setup he's using is a lot of times they use strobes or they use lasers and things like that. And what can happen when those other DJ lights are flashing on and off is if you're shooting in automatic, it will throw your autofocus out of whack really badly. So you don't want to do that. You should be shooting in manual, but if you're not a professional or you're not familiar with your gear, you may find that you have to shoot in auto. So be leery of the DJ's flashing lights and try to put them behind you if you can so that you're not shooting into them and it's not screwing up your autofocus or other features on your camera. My question of the day is, how many weddings do you shoot annually? Leave a comment below and let us know. If you found the information in this video useful, I'd love to hear about it from you. If you liked it and want to see more videos like this, then follow my YouTube channel, Jim Costa Films. If you think what you saw was great, please do like it. If you have an opinion, feel free to comment below. If you know someone who could benefit from the info that I provided, please share the video. You can connect with me and my company, Jim Costa Films, on social media and online, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and now LinkedIn, as well as the web, by searching for Jim Costa Films. In fact, I currently have over 4,400 videos on my YouTube channel, Jim Costa Films, so feel free to check out many of my other videos for great tips and suggestions. Thank you for sticking around this far. I mentioned at the beginning about some freebies and training. As a professional video producer and photographer, I've created an absolutely free cheat sheet for you on all the best camera settings to shoot video with your DSLR, mirrorless, or video camera that will show you the settings that will allow your photos and particularly your videos, to shine and stand out from the competition. The link to get that cheat sheet is just below in the video description. Best of all, my cheat sheet specializes in shooting video with any type of camera. In it, you'll find all of the info you need on important video techniques such as white balance, color temperature, frame rates, and more. I've also created an editing training for Adobe Premiere Pro. My Quick Start training is designed to get you up and editing video in under 2 hours and includes over 100 tips, tricks, and keyboard shortcuts for video editors. If you order the training, I also have all of my shortcuts in a PDF that I'll provide you as well, free, so you can keep that and you'll always have them and you'll learn how to edit really fast. Now, I'm also affiliated with Christina Nicholson, a fellow media veteran like myself, who helps businesses and entrepreneurs reach tons of their ideal customers or clients through the power of media without spending big bucks on advertising. I've worked with Christina and used her advice and training successfully, so I know from first-hand experience that it actually works great. The program Christina and I are now offering is called the Media Mentoring Program, and it will help you to take advantage of mainstream media. You can stand out from the competition because it's not something everyone has access to. Best of all, unlike paid ads and sponsorships, you can gain lots of exposure and credibility to become the go-to brand everyone talks about and wants to do business with without spending a fortune on advertising. I'll link to those cheat sheets and training courses in the description below as well. There's videos on both courses that will give you an overview of how they can help you, as well as links to get more information on each program. Finally, if you followed me for a while now, you may know that I have a private community of photographers, videographers, and filmmakers, just like you, on Facebook, where I share other pro tips and tricks. It's called Video Producers and Content Creators, and it's a different Facebook page, a private one, separate from my business page, which is public and anyone can see. I love new members who want to share their work, learn from others, and also help others. You'll find a link to that group in the description below as well, so feel free to join it where you can learn even more.